Welcome back. For the GOP, the issue of reproductive rights is a bit of a tricky one. After embracing the pro-life stance for decades, some Republicans are now distancing themselves from restrictive abortion policies many of them helped to enact. Former President Donald Trump is maybe the most striking example. His 3 nominations to the Supreme Court contributed to the Dobbs decision, which effectively overturned Roe and gave the states the authority to restrict abortion access. 2 years later, the former president says some states have abused that authority. His take on Arizona's now repealed abortion law, it, quote, went too far. And before Florida's 6-week abortion ban went into effect, Trump called it a, quote, terrible mistake. So can the party come together on a stance here, or is this issue now too big to overcome? Political strategist Rina Shah is with me now to dig into this. I'm trying to understand this. Why is the party pursuing this issue when so far it's really energized women to vote blue in some states, which we've talked about over time?
Well, one big distinguishing factor here is that it's not the party writ large that's doing this anymore. Given the overturn of Roe versus Wade at the Supreme Court, the Dobbs decision, what we see now is what conservatives are calling something that they've wanted for a long time. Abortion being an issue that is kicked back to the states. So you do have a lot of very far-right Republican members of certain state legislatures enacting policies that are not that popular with Republicans overall. And even in places like Florida, where you saw the Supreme Court do what it did just last month, and now what has led to the enactment of a 6-week ban, a point at which not many American women even know that they are pregnant, you're seeing many super Republican voters in Florida upset with that decision, and then kicking over to Arizona and what their Supreme Court decided there. So what we are now seeing again is a complication for Republicans that is landing up in them being painted with a broad brush overall. But what they really like, when you hear the majority of Republicans talk about abortion, they like that it's being decided by the states.
Okay. I mean, we have seen state by state when abortion and access to it comes up, for a memorandum, and we have seen how voters have turned out to enshrine that in the Constitution in several states. What is the political effect if all these state measures enshrining access to abortion in red states pass, given what you just explained about, the minority really kind of cultivating the lead and causing this?
Yeah, in places like Ruby Red, Kansas, and Ohio, you've got people who are so aggrieved that when they see abortion on the ballot, even if they are Republicans, they want to see reproductive rights for their fellow citizens. So, yes, abortion is a losing issue when it gets kicked back to the constituents on state-by-state ballot initiatives. And that is what Republicans have to worry most about, is those voters who turn out because of their anger about this issue of reproductive freedom. Are you even free when you can't make decisions that are related to bodily autonomy in situations like an ectopic pregnancy, or when you're told your pregnancy may lead to non-viability? It doesn't matter what we're talking about anymore when we get to the week talk. And that used to be something Republicans used to love to chatter about. Oh, we can be for a 15-week ban, or any time that we talk about an 18 to 20-week ban, Republicans were supportive. We've come so far away from that now. So yes, it is a losing issue for Republicans once again. And I don't see a fix in sight, even though Trump has reassured folks at times that he would not enact a national ban.
You don't see a fix in sight. And that was one of my key questions for you, was how does the party turn this around? I mean, leading up to November, and especially when you consider how this may play out down ballot. No fix?
The party can't turn it around because the RNC is under new leadership. You've got all new people in there, many of them rookies, many of them who are extremely partisan in nature, who voted for Trump in 2016, in 2020, because they wanted the justices. They wanted these judges. They got 3 of them through Trump. These are a lot of folks who didn't even like Trump, who couldn't palate his personality, but wanted those justices to overturn Roe. So they've got what they wanted, but what the the reality is that it's not in line with public opinion in general. The average American out there understands that this is a complex issue, and this is also an issue in which a bureaucrat should not be sticking themselves in between a woman and a doctor. And that's what you're seeing here now. In many states, you're talking about doctors being criminalized, afraid to provide care. You're hearing of women delivering in lobbies of hotels, or at least not even being able to go to an ER because they're so worried about whether they'll receive care if they say that they're pregnant or not. Abortion is a topic that is so thorny because it goes beyond the termination of a fetus or a life or whatever anybody wants to call it. It is about reproductive care, and I think Republicans have no way to fix this on a ballot before November. So what they've got to continue to do is message well on the other stuff and hope that people are not so mad that they turn out to vote against them in November only on this issue.
Our previous guest, Democratic strategist, just said that in her view, and in others within, the folks that do this, saying that the Democratic Party has been underestimated when it comes to this issue of abortion. And now, basically the proof is coming out. If that is true, in your view, why is it that Republicans, I'm generalizing here, going off of what she's saying, why did they underestimate this issue and this being a winnable issue for the Democrats?
I think there are many layers here. I mean, a part of this goes back to the Clinton administration and Democrats being so, what's the word, really confident that this could never happen, this day could really never come, that they didn't codify Roe. And people say, well, the political will wasn't really there. But the reality is this, in Biden's time in office, people say, well, why didn't Biden codify Roe? There's no way the votes have been there in Congress for Republicans and Democrats to get together and do this. So you can't blame Biden, but you can blame the Democrats of the 90s. And look, blaming anybody now doesn't help the many millions of women that are impacted by this. I think there are women sitting in southern states right now that are of lower socioeconomic status. We know it's Black and brown women. We see the empirical evidence that they are the ones who will suffer the most when it comes to lack of access to reproductive care, which does include abortion. And what I see right now is a deficit of leadership across the board. I do think a lot of Democrats have tried to do right by American women here, but the reality is that here in 2024, American women have less rights when it comes to their bodies and what they need to do if they need to ever terminate a pregnancy.
Political strategist Rina Shah, thank you so much for your time tonight. Always appreciate it. And folks, we'll be right back.